Hi everybody, welcome to Saturday Live at the Backyard Bird Center. Today's program is the question we get a lot this time of year, and I know a lot of you are exempt from this, but the question is, when does bird feeder season start? Yes, a lot of my customers, most of us, make us feed 365 days a year, so it really doesn't apply to everyone, but there are a lot of people who do not. Once the weather warms up in the spring and there's a bountiful supply of insects, there's a lot of people who stop feeding birds then. They think that they don't need to, and I understand it's a cost-saving thing, and they don't feed. But then they want to ask in the fall, when does the bird feeder season begin? Now, this is highly variable, and I know, especially now that these videos are on YouTube, that they have an audience from all over the country, and so we have people that this video will apply quite differently. So instead of using a date, I'm going to talk more about conditions as to when the bird feeder season begins. So here in the heart of the country, in Kansas City, we can count on cooler temperatures typically every fall, moving in September, mid-September, early October. That's when things start to really cool off here. But those cooler conditions don't coincide with what I call stress. Stress on the birds. Fall is the time of bountiful food supplies for birds. Many of the native plants are burying out, and their seeds are ripening, and the weeds and the ditches and things like that, those are all natural food supplies, and there's also still insects around. So birds feeding is quite slow in this part of the world in September and in October, but birds still come to your feeders occasionally. So they will, but the true activity will not start and to get really heavy until temperatures go down, food supplies become lower, and stress goes up. And that is colder temperatures, freezing and thawing, colder nights. Whenever temperatures are mild, you have the luxury, if you're a wild animal, to take extra time to find food. Whenever conditions get harsh, it's much harder, and you're willing to settle for something that maybe doesn't taste quite as good to you, or something that is a lot easier for you to find. Bird feeders are a prime example of that. So depending upon where you're watching this from, your bird feeder season may start a little sooner than ours or even a little later than ours. But around here, we kind of call the 1st of November the start of the bird feeder season. And that, like I said, that's going to vary a lot. But in some years, it doesn't get cold here till after Christmas. And so the real bird feeding activity doesn't pick up till then. But birds will need the food, and they will start coming in. And I would like, in this area, like I say, mid-November-ish, in that time frame. So you can base that on that. What do you need to do to get started for the bird feeder season? One, this is a great time to clean your bird feeders. We had our bird feeder cleaning day here at the store last weekend, and we cleaned a lot of bird feeders. This is a great time because the feeders are so slow, you can take them down safely. The birds won't miss them for a few days, and get them good and clean, good and disinfected. The 10% bleach solution is so important because of disease spread and preventing that, because that's what kills that bacteria in there. So make sure you get your feeders all cleaned up and ready, and minor repairs, things like that. The next thing I want you to do, of course, is to make sure your seed is fresh. People, we always get this question, oh, my seed, I've had it since last year. Okay, bird seed, unless it is refrigerated and kept in the cool, dry basement, typically is not enough. But if you keep it refrigerated or in a freezer, you can use that. But the rule of thumb is you never keep bird seed in your feeders longer than a month, and you never keep it in storage longer than 3 months. So if you have seed that's older than that, it's probably worth giving it to the raccoons and just throwing it out into the woods. So when you get started feeding, to help you with this no seed in your feeder longer than a month, don't fill your feeders all the way full. Only put maybe half in your bird feeders until they really start coming, and then you'll be filling it a couple of times a day, whatever the stress dictates on them. So we want you to have fresh seed, we want you to have clean feeders, and most of all, number one, always in my book, is a source of dependable unfrozen water. get those bird baths cleaned up and ready to go, and make sure, again, change them regularly. Keep the water clean. Birds will poop in the water, and you really do want to clean them out. But a good bird bath is a shallow bird bath, and I've done whole videos on that. But one that has a heating element that will keep it unfrozen, that's especially important here. May not be as important where you live, but believe me, you will definitely appreciate that. Now, for those of you who are thinking, okay, but I don't have to, I'm going to wait till it gets cold. I'm going to wait till after Christmas or when it really gets cold here. Remember, you probably have neighbors that are feeding birds too. And if they put their feeders out at kind of now, and they start maintaining them, and those birds get used to going to their feeders, it may be hard for you to get your birds to come back in the later you wait to put your seed out. So that's just something we see happen every year. So you, like I said, don't fill the feeders all the way up. That way you can just get something out there, get them used to coming, and then you can build that relationship up with your birds for the rest of the winter. So when does bird feeder season start? Whenever you want it to, but again, when it gets colder is the answer really to that question. So it's a great idea for a program. Thanks so much for that. Give us another idea. Please send them in. Give us a like, give us a share. If you're on YouTube, please subscribe. Until then, let's talk birds.